So this is for the physical detailed examination, and I'm going to start with the head, which everything starts with DCAP BTLS, which is deformities, contusions, avulsions, abrasions, punctures, penetrations, burns and bruises, tenderness, lacerations, and swelling, scars, and soot. All right, and then after that, I'll palpitate for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. All right, so I'm gonna start with the head. So the first thing I'm gonna check is there's asymmetry of the head and face. Then I'm gonna look for any drainage from the ears and the nose. And then I'm gonna look for raccoon eyes, and then battle signs, which should be behind the ear. Okay, and then after that, I would look for soot or singed nasal or facial hair. So obviously none of that. And then the last thing is coffee ground emesis, which there doesn't seem to be any of that either. All right, so next I'm gonna do the neck, which I would assess for DCAP BTLS and then look for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. And then after that, I would look for track marks and tattoos, medical alert tags, jugular vein distension, tracheal deviation, accessory muscle use, and then I would check her carotid pulses. Okay, and then I would lastly look for any subcutaneous emphysema or a stoma. Next is the chest. So again, I'm going to assess for DCAP BTLS and look and palpitate for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. And I would start by looking for paradoxical movements or breathing. All right, and then accessory muscle use, which there appears to be none. A sucking chest wound, which there's none. A subcutaneous emphysema, and then lastly, I would auscultate for breath sounds on all lung fields, which pronunciation's not, yeah, I tried. All right, so the next one is I'm gonna look at her abdomen, which again, I'm assessing for DCAP BTLS, and then I'm gonna palpitate for only tenderness this time. So now I'm gonna look if there's any distension, rigidity or guarding, pulsating mass. So then if she's female, signs of pregnancy and then other complications, and then lastly another subcutaneous emphysema. Next, I'm gonna be doing her pelvis, which starts with assessing DCAP BTLS and then palpitating for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. And then I would check her femoral pulses. Okay, incontinence. And then if my patient is male, I would look for priapism, which is an erection. And then if it's a female patient, I would look for signs of pregnancy and then other complications and vaginal bleeding. All right, so next is the lower extremities. I would assess for DCAP BTLS, and then I would palpitate for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. And then for the lower extremities, I would look for any track marks or tattoos, medical alert tags. And then at that point, I would check her pedial pulses there. And then motor movement and function, which is the PMSS, so up, down, okay. Up, down, okay. Which toe am I grabbing?
The pinky.
Okay, which toe am I grabbing?
My big toe.
Okay, so and then last but not least, I would do sensation. All right, so that's pretty much what it is. Okay. Next is the upper extremities, which I would assess for DCAP BTLS and then palpitate for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. And then again, I would look for track marks or any tattoos. medical alert tags. And then I would check her brachial and radial pulses. Brachial first, and then radial. Okay, and then I would do her motor movement and function, the PMSS. So, squeeze. Which finger am I?
My ring finger?
Okay, which finger am I holding?
My thumb.
Okay, and spin sensation. That's that.
Squeeze on this one.
Oh, squeeze. Okay, and that one's alright. The last one is the back.
Okay, wait, let me move where you are.
I don't want
No room at all.
I'm so sorry. I'm sorry. Alright, so the last one is the back. I would assess for decap ATLS. I would palpitate for tenderness, instability, and crepitus. I would look for any tattoos. And then again, check her brachial and then her radial pulses. Okay, and then I would do look for any subcutaneous emphysema, and finally I would do look for a sacral edema. Okay, and that's the end of